If you add prevent plant this year, one of your biggest concerns has got to be, how do I make my yields great next year? We'll also talk today about CRP. If you're going to take ground out of CRP and put it into cropland, what do you do? So we'll talk through those things.
One of my first questions when I talk to anybody with prevent plant ground or CRP ground is, what plants are actually growing out in the field? Chances are we've got perennials that we've got to deal with, or just some really tough, well-established plants with deep root systems. And my next question would be, how long has it been in CRP, or how long has it been in prevent plant? Because if you've had something that's gotten established, like for example Canada thistle, if you've got some Canada thistle starting and it's the first year, not as big a problem, not as tough to control as Canada thistle. It's been there for 10 years. Now all of a sudden I know we've got extensive rhizomes to deal with.
Okay, so usually if it's CRP or prevent plant, we would tell you kill everything off in the fall. The reason why is if you kill it now, then winter kill has a chance to finish the rest of it off, and then in the spring you have a lot fewer weeds to deal with. Now certainly if you put a cover crop out there, let's say, which you could technically call CRP a cover crop, you might say, well, I want it growing through the winter. You can do that. I'm not saying you can't. It's just that now it's going to rob water and nutrients out of the soil early in the spring, and the problem with that is in a dry year like for us and where we farm, we're short on moisture quite often. So I don't want to be more short on moisture because I let something grow into the spring. If you're in an area that gets 60 inches of rain as opposed to our 20 inches of rain, you may feel different. You go, hey, I want to remove some water. Great. Leave it growing all the way until early spring. But as soon as you possibly can, get out there with a huge rate of Roundup. But then on top of that, if there are some weeds that are out in that field that are Roundup resistant, you may have to throw something else in, whether that's dicamba or 2,4-D or something else. All depends on what crop you're going to go to and what weeds they are. But I'm just saying, make sure you get great weed control.
The other thing I think about, especially in the situation of prevent plant ground, why was it prevent plant? Well, because it was too wet and it needs some drainage improvements. Here is a great time to get that done. You're well ahead of when you're going to plant next spring. Get that drainage tile project taken care of out in that field so it doesn't go prevent plant again, because the last thing you want to do is invest a bunch of time, money, and effort into getting that ground back into production, only to have it drown out again and go back into prevent plant down the road.
Well, let's face it, Darren, CRP, a lot of, in our area, ground got put into CRP because it was too wet to farm, because guys were having troubles there. With ground that's been CRP for a while, hopefully organic matter has built up in that soil and it's now pretty good soil, but that doesn't fix the drainage issue. So if you've got a drainage issue, yes, take care of that. Next, really take a look at what do I have for fertility out here. In the CRP, you might be thinking, oh, there's got to be lots of fertility out there. Well, maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't know. Same thing with prevent plant. Make sure you're soil testing. The last thing I'll say is make sure you've got good microbial life in that soil. So coming out of CRP, you should have good microbial life, except for you haven't had soybeans out there for a long time or a legume. My point is, if you're going to go to alfalfa, you're going to go to soybeans, you're going to go to some legume crop, make sure you're using inoculant. If it's prevent plant ground, then you might want to look at mycorrhiza fungi. Add some myco-apply endoprime, for example, in the spring. Add some other biological or natural products to help get that microbial life really going again, because without good microbial life, you can't raise the best crop possible.
The last question that I've got, especially for CRP ground, since it's been in CRP for a long period of time, sometimes people will use products with extremely long soil residual, like Tordon or Milestone in those situations, to go after thistles or other tough weeds. If you haven't had control of that ground, make sure you're checking with the previous owner or the previous tenant for that land. What have you sprayed out there? Is there anything that could potentially carry over? We've seen it too many times where CRP ground has come out, a farmer plants soybeans, and they die because there happen to be Tordon or something else lingering in the soil.
Well, our weed of the week might not be the biggest problem in CRP or prevent plant ground, but it could be an issue on your farm. We'll talk about how to stop it coming up next.